Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man who talks a lot of crap for a guy who knows the lyrics to at least 37 Wiggle songs. It's Dale.
Well, you know, everybody's got no fruit salad, right?
That's it. Yummy, yummy.
Yeah, special note. I did see the Wiggles live in concert.
Yeah.
Took my daughter to see them.
Yeah.
And actually today, as we record, is her birthday, so happy birthday, Raven. It's her 21st birthday today.
Wow, legal.
Yeah, legal and supposed to be responsible, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll know how that goes.
I figured you'd like that little Wiggles comment.
That was nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Captain Feathersword, actually.
You gotta love the Wiggles.
Yeah, Raven went as Captain Feathersword for Halloween once when she was a wee chap.
Oh.
It's been a few years now.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, don't kill me, Raven.
That's awesome. You got anything you want to talk about before we get going, or anybody you want to talk about?
We got a message. I was like, pop it on here. So from Brad Pickett, he sent us a message and said, "Love the show. Gave you a 5-star on Spotify. Couldn't figure out how to leave a comment, but he just sent us a nice message. Said he actually worked for retired Chief David James, friend of the show, for a while, and then now he's retired and drives a tractor trailer and listens to us to help pass the time. And we just want to say appreciate you giving us a little message there and giving us a 5-star on Spotify. We appreciate you, and we'll definitely keep up the great work." He also says he's kind of irritated about me saying clip instead of magazine for a pistol or a long gun, so from now on we will shove our Sports Illustrated up our clip hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just kidding. All right, anyway, that was fun.
Yeah, because Sports Illustrated is a magazine.
It is.
I get you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
I caught that.
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody, Dale, go check out our socials. We got a Facebook. We got a fans of Crack House Chronicles. We got a regular Crack House Chronicles Facebook page.
Yes.
We got an Instagram,
And
TikTok.
a YouTube page, man.
Yeah, TikTok. And over on our Instagram, we got a link there that's linked to our Linktree page, and it's got all the things that you can find us on.
Yes.
All of our links.
Yeah, in case you're looking for us. We're right here.
That's why they call it a Linktree.
Linktree.
Yeah.
Well, ain't that fancy.
That's right.
Anyway, so thanks a lot, Brad. Appreciate you taking the time to drop us a note there. That was pretty cool.
It is. It's awesome. We appreciate everybody that listens and shares and tells their friends about us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, matter of fact,
Oh.
tell you what, the other day I was in a little restaurant in Shelby walking around, and this lady come up and she saw my shirt. She goes, "Hey, I like your shirt." I'm like, "Thanks." She goes, "Yeah, my son listens to that all the time." I was like, "Oh, really?" She goes, "Yeah." So anyway, then I told her I was one of the hosts and went out the truck, got a couple stickers for her son and stuff. But so that was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, just drop that in there.
Was the son there with her or just
No,
her?
she was working actually, and said her son was a big fan. So I was like, "Well, wait a minute." So I went out and grabbed some cards and a couple stickers and some other stuff I had in the truck with me that day and passed them out. It's always good to run into somebody who listens.
Yeah.
Out in the wild.
I try to keep stickers and stuff with me all the time, but sometimes you see somebody and they recognize you and you just don't have nothing with you.
Yeah, I know.
You feel sad.
You're like, dang.
Yeah. I don't have anything, man. It's like seeing Santa Claus and it's not Christmas.
Or he ain't got his bag.
Yeah.
Santa with no sack.
That's right.
Come on, Santa, where's the sack?
All right, dude, we're going to get going this episode.
All right, man, let's
We're
go.
over 3 minutes in, somebody's going to say something.
We'll get a damn email.
Yep. But we're going to Pocatello, Idaho on this episode, dude.
Pocatello.
Yeah, it's not Danbury, but it's Pocatello.
Yeah.
We're going back to the year 2005. And this is when Frank and Allison Contreras, I think that's how you pronounce their last name.
We'll go with that.
I hope I'm not butchering it.
Right. They'll let us know.
Yeah. But they were pretty excited because they were moving from the busy San Francisco Bay Area to a home they had purchased in Pocatello, Idaho.
Wow, that's kind of wild, ain't it, from last week, from single lady moving from Charlotte to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Well, not moving, but
She went out there for the summer.
Right.
Yeah. But they had bought a home there in Pocatello. This is in Bannock County, and it's in the southeastern Idaho area. But as of 2019, the population there was just under 57,000 people.
But that's Tater Town, ain't it?
Yeah, I bet it is. But Pocatello is pretty small as far as, cities go.
Yeah.
And very conservative, and most of the population there are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The Mormons.
Yeah. But the Contreras' new home that they had purchased there in Pocatello was on Whispering Cliffs Drive.
That's fancy.
Yeah, and this home, it had 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and it was on 2 acres of land.
So they moved from San Francisco out to the country and get them a little spot of land. I bet they enjoyed that.
Yeah, pretty quiet area.
Yeah.
Secluded, and I guess slow things down a little bit for them.
Heck yeah.
Easy going.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Get out in the country, man.
Be like somebody from Charlotte moving here, I guess.
Yeah, here where we live.
Yeah.
Frank and Allison, they had 2 kids from a previous relationship and 1 child of their own.
Wow.
And they were pretty certain that their family would be happy there in Pocatello.
Well, heck yeah.
Yeah. So the following year, this is in September 2006, Frank and Allison, they made plans for a weekend trip. They needed someone to watch the house, and pet sit while they were gone.
Gotcha.
And they asked their 16-year-old niece, her name was Cassie Jo Stoddart.
Cassie Jo, that's a cool name.
Yeah, it is cool. But she had babysat for them on several occasions and was, pretty much an obvious choice.
Well, something she liked.
Yeah,
and house
very
sitting's always
dependable.
pretty cool, right?
Very dependable.
Yes.
Yeah, so they got her. They knew she didn't drink or do drugs, and she was really good in school, made straight A's. So
Very trustworthy, responsible kind of lady.
yeah, so that's and her being her niece, they knew her, so they trusted her completely.
Right. Somebody's going to take care of the animals. You're always worried about that, not mess your house up, kind of. And it's always good to be able to go somewhere and not have to worry about that part of it.
Exactly. So Cassie jumped at this opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she was wanting to make a little extra money to buy a car or something too. So this was just a win-win for everybody.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And she loves spending time there at her aunt and uncle's house, so I think it's going to be good for her.
Well, tell us a little bit about Cassie.
She was born on December 21st of 1989 there in Pocatello, Idaho. She had an older sister, Christy, and a younger brother, Andrew. Now, Cassie's parents were not together when we're telling this story,
Okay.
or when this story takes place.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that.
And there's not much information on Cassie's father.
Okay.
But the Stoddard kids were very close to their grandparents and lived between their house and their mother's house and stepfather's house growing up. Cassie was, a talented artist, and she loved music, which, like we do.
Sounds like me.
Yeah. And she was smart and strong-willed. And her brother, Andrew, her younger brother, Andrew, described her as a role model, even though she was only a year and a half older than him. I guess, girls mature faster than boys. And Andrew and Cassie were not only siblings, but they were best friends.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And he was even quoted as saying that Cassie and I were into the same stuff and going to the same places. And her brother Andrew later said, while sometimes they argued, all brothers and sisters do, they pretty much did everything together.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Everybody ain't going to get along all the time.
Well, heck no.
Mm-mm.
Especially siblings.
So at the time this story takes place, Dale, Cassie was a junior at Pocatello High School. And at school, she had met a guy named Matt Beckham. And they became an item. They became boyfriend and girlfriend.
Mm.
And as of September of 2006, the two had been dating for about 5 months.
Yeah, that's a pretty long time.
Yeah. And after school on Friday, September the 22nd, Cassie arrived at her aunt and uncle's house that she was going to house sit for.
Right.
This is on Whispering Cliffs Drive, like we talked about. And this is where she would house sit until Sunday.
Right.
She's going to spend the weekend there, taking care of the house and the animals.
Now, when we say arrived, that means her mother took her over and dropped her off.
Yes.
Yeah, she didn't have a car.
Yeah, so her mama took her. And since the house was, in a kind of remote area,
Yeah.
Cassie asked her aunt and uncle if her boyfriend Matt could come and hang out in the evenings with her.
Yeah.
Which, and they told her it'd be fine.
Right. I'm sure there was ground rules, but you know how stuff goes. But, that's pretty cool. I think that's cool that they let her do that.
And I think they trusted Cassie completely.
Right.
So that makes a big difference.
Yes.
So at around 6 p.m. that evening, Matt got to the house.
In which his mother brought him to the house.
Exactly.
He didn't have a car either.
And the two, they decided to watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to watch Kill Bill Volume 2.
I ain't never seen that.
I hadn't either. So Matt had also invited 2 other friends over to the house. Their names were Brian Draper and Torey Adamcik. Now, Brian and Torey, they were classmates of Matt and Cassie there at Pocatello High School.
Right. Now, I don't think Cassie knew about this, did she?
I don't think she did.
Right. I think they just kind of showed up. I don't know if she was expecting this or whatever.
But Matt invited them over.
Right.
And Cassie was, she considered all of them friends.
Yeah.
But they weren't particularly close.
They were just hallway passing friends, I would assume.
But Cassie was a little annoyed
Mm-hmm.
with Matt for inviting him over without asking her.
I don't blame her.
And Matt told Cassie that it would be okay, and they were just going to hang out and watch a movie. Now, Brian and Torey, they got to the house between 6:30 and 7. And, Cassie being the nice person she is, she gave them a tour of the house. Showing them around, and even showing the basement of the house. And about halfway through the movie, Brian and Torey, they got up and said they were bored and they wanted to leave.
Yeah, I think maybe Matt had told them that there was going to be like a party or something. So, or at least that's what they were thinking. It was going to be a party.
Yeah.
So when they show up and it's just them two sitting here watching Kill Bill, they're like, maybe we'll just roll.
Yeah. So by this point, they'd been at the house for about 2 hours. And about 15 minutes after they left, Dale, the power went out at the house. And it was dark.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of a remote area.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Especially out of the blue.
Yeah. And they knew the circuit breaker was in the basement, but they were kind of spooked.
Oh, yeah.
And there was no way they was going down there. Instead, they sat on the couch and just sort of hung out, hoping the lights would come back on.
Right.
And at the same time, the Contreras dogs, the family that owned the house, their dogs that Cassie was house sitting for, they started growling at the basement door, which led down the steps, to the basement.
Yeah.
Which, sort of added a little bit more fear to them.
That's creepy as heck.
Yeah, Matt had a bad feeling, so he called his mom, asking him if he could stay the night with Cassie.
Right.
So, his mom said no, and she was going to come and pick him up as planned. I think she was going to get there around 11.
Yeah. Wouldn't be late if it was me.
Now, at this point, they were differing accounts regarding his mother's response. Now, some people say she told Matt that Cassie could come and stay at their house, while others make no mention of this at all.
Right. Now, what I had seen is like he had asked her if she could come, but the mother had heard Cassie in the background going, "No, I've already made the commitment to stay here. I'm not going to go. I think I'll just do this." So she's just being responsible.
Yeah.
She done made the deal that I'm going to stay here and take care of the animals and watch the house, and so I'm not going to bail on them.
Made that commitment.
Yeah.
So eventually the lights came back on, and this made Matt and Cassie feel a little bit better. And around at 11 p.m., Matt's mom came to pick him up.
Yep, just as planned.
And Cassie and Matt said their goodbyes.
Yep. I think he kissed her goodnight and got in the car and rode out.
Yep. Now, 2 days later, on September the 24th,
Sunday morning.
Yeah, the Contreras family that owned the house, they arrived home as planned. And Frank and Allison and their 13-year-old daughter, she was the first one to enter the house, the 13-year-old was. And the front door was unlocked, which...
It was weird.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, but didn't think a lot of it because, they knew Cassie was there.
Well, yeah, and if you think about it, it's Sunday morning. She could have already been up and let the dogs out and this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And when she went into the living room, she started screaming. Her parents ran inside to see what was going on, and there was blood everywhere.
Oh.
On the carpet, furniture, and the walls. And on the floor next to the couch lay the deceased body of Cassie Jo Stoddart.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So Contreras called the police right away.
Okay, what's going on?
Somebody looks dead on my side. Oh my God, it's my cousin's daughter. I need an ambulance.
Let me get you order medical. Stay on the line.
Oh God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Get everybody out. There's a girl dead on my floor.
Honey, is she breathing?
No, she isn't. She's cold. Oh my God.
She's cold as a cut?
She's cold.
Okay, do you want to start CPR?
Her fingers are blue.
Okay, how old is she?
She's 16, 17. And her mom just drove up here and she's dead.
Okay, hon, we're going to get them coming, okay?
Oh my God, okay.
Now, Cassie's devastated mother and stepfather arrived, and Andrew Stoddard, this is Cassie's brother, later described his stepfather calling him sobbing down the phone that his sister had been murdered. Can you imagine?
No.
He even said that he dropped the phone and just fell to the ground.
Yeah.
And Andrew later said, I didn't even know how to process it.
Well, how do you,
Yeah. How do you get past it?
You don't.
Mm-mm. And Dale, the word of murder is spread pretty fast through this little community.
I bet.
Things like that don't happen there.
No.
And Pocatello residents said, as people often do when something happens, that's bad, and it just don't happen in places like that.
Yeah, so everybody's talking.
Yeah.
This is just, wow, one of those moments.
Yeah, so the investigators, they got to the house pretty quick, and they began processing the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And the sheriff's department put the Contreras family up in a hotel during this time, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And they couldn't find any signs of forced entry, suggesting that maybe Cassie let her killer or killers in the house.
Or maybe she even knew who it was.
Yeah. But apart from the scene in the living room, the rest of the house appeared undisturbed.
So it wasn't like a robbery or something. Didn't look like it. It was basically just that was the only thing.
Yeah. None of the family's belongings were missing, which ruled out a burglary, as some type of motive. And the dogs and cats had been locked in a separate room, but were unharmed.
Oh, that's odd, isn't it?
Yeah, very odd. Now, Cassie's autopsy report revealed just the brutality of her attack, man. She had been stabbed 30 times in her chest, neck, back, and abdomen. And they've estimated between 9 and 12 of her stab wounds were fatal.
Yeah, any of them could have been enough.
Could have been what killed her.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of defensive wounds on her hands and arms, so she fought like hell to save herself.
Yeah, I think even in the 911 call it says that she's missing a finger or something. So she tried to fight. God, that's what they were saying, especially the way the scene looked and the way the blood was everywhere. It looked like she really tried to fight out of it.
And it was estimated that she had been dead for about 2 days when she was discovered.
So that would mean sometime Friday night late, I guess.
Yes, what they're saying. As it goes, cases like this, suspicion immediately fell on Cassie's boyfriend, Matt Beckham.
Well, it has to. I mean.
And Matt was the last person to see Cassie alive.
But, also, I'd say that Matt's mother saw them together too, right? Or did not. I wonder if he just came out and got in the car, or if they both came out and then he got in the car and she went back in the house.
Very true. I don't know.
Okay. I'm just saying. Trying to put it together in my head. Go ahead.
I don't know if she walked him out or not.
Possible. I don't know. I wondered about that because I was wondering, he says he was the last person to see her, but if they both walked out, which I would assume would be the way they would do it. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the mother didn't get out of the car. She probably just pulled up in the driveway.
Yeah. He just walked out the door and left.
I guess it's kind of relevant, but I just wonder about that.
But if they're going to kiss and make out goodbye, he probably don't want to do it in front of his mom.
Well, I didn't say they was making out.
They're teenagers, man.
Yeah, but they've been doing that for 2 hours, so, or could have. It was like, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but you're still going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Matt was the last person to see Cassie alive.
Okay.
And furthermore, this attack was vicious and brutal. Stabbing somebody 30 times, is overkill.
Yes. Yeah, it's just not a kill and run away.
Yeah.
Seems more personal.
Yeah, it does. But Matt was eager to help the investigators, and when they told him about this, something sort of bothered me when they told him that he didn't show any emotion at all.
Yeah, it kind of bothered them, too.
Yeah. He was very stoic.
But then again, how do you process something like that?
I know, everybody processes things different.
I would have flipped the hell out, but I don't.
But, like I said, Matt was eager to help, the investigators any way he could.
Mm-hmm.
And during questioning, he gave them a detailed timeline of how he spent the evening and with whom. And he detailed how Brian Draper and Torey Adamcik had been at the house.
Okay.
But they left early. And he told them about the phone call he made to his mom about wanting to stay with Cassie, because the power went out.
Yeah, the power problem.
But his mom picked him up, and he had spent the rest of the evening with his parents before going to bed.
Right.
Now,
I think he did call her one more time before he went to bed, did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Now, he had phone...
Because he was worried about the power problem again,
I guess.
Just checking on her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, he had records to show his calls and text. And the following day, on September the 23rd, he repeatedly tried to call Cassie, but she never answered the phone. And Matt didn't have a car, and I really hadn't heard if he knew how to drive or not, if he had a license, but meaning that...
he had to get a ride anywhere he went.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
But investigators were quite sure that Matt was not responsible for Cassie's murder. The combination of his timeline, phone records, and the alibi from his parents.
Well, plus they gave him a polygraph when he passed with flying colors.
Yes.
So don't leave that out. That's important.
Yeah, so that sort of made him look a little bit better in their eyes.
Yeah, even though he had the little weird reaction when they told him, everything else was spot on.
Mm-hmm. And they asked him some questions about his buddies that come over, Brian and Torey.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt told him that he was better friends with Torey and that Cassie had been friends with him. But they weren't close, and both the boys had shown interest in Cassie in the past and even had flirted with her.
Well, I'm sure. She's a very beautiful girl.
Oh, yeah, very pretty. So on September the 25th of 2006, Brian and Torey were brought into the station to be questioned, which, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
And the two boys were led into separate rooms. They split them up along with their parents.
Right, because they're only 16.
Yeah, and they were allowed to have their parents with them, and both of them set for several interviews with investigators over the next few days. And before speaking to the investigators, Torey told his mom that he'd been with Cassie and Matt and Brian that night, but had nothing to do with Cassie's murder. And Torey's mother, she didn't want to believe her son could be capable of something like this.
Well, I'm sure she's believing the story.
And they were just trying to get information about anything they could find out.
Right.
So as the questioning from investigators progressed, the two boys became increasingly frazzled, and they were unable to keep their account straight. I guess the cops were getting in their head.
Right. Well, doing their job.
Yeah, and they explained that they had left the residence there on Whispering Cliffs Road, and they went to a movie theater.
Yeah.
But they had nothing to prove they were there. They didn't have any tickets or anything, or...
Well, they couldn't even describe the plot of the movie or who was in it.
Yeah.
They just said that they had went to the movies because they were both big movie buffs. So they said they had left the house to go to a movie instead of watching Kill Bill on TV. They wanted to go to a theater.
Yeah, they were going to see the movie Pulse.
Right.
So on September the 27th, 2006, this was 3 days after Cassie's body was found, Brian cracked. He told investigators what happened that night, but didn't exactly confess. Rather, he said that Torey murdered Cassie.
So wait, okay, go ahead.
Now, Brian's story went like this, Dale. He and Torey went to Cassie's that night, and while she was giving them a tour of the house, he unlocked the back door of the basement.
So Brian unlocked the back door?
Yes.
Okay.
So that he and Torey could get back in the house later. Now, after watching part of the movie, that Kill Bill movie with Matt and Cassie, Brian and Torey left. This is what he was telling them. Telling the other two they were going to the movie theater.
But they never actually left. I think they left the...
I think they left the property, but just pulled the car around somewhere where it can be seen.
Yeah, I think they got in the car and acted like they left and went down the road just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then just waited or whatever.
So they said they went outside for about 10 minutes. This is when they probably went to Torey's car and put on some Halloween mask and gloves. And grabbed knives they had brought along.
Whoa.
Yeah. They then went back into the house, through this unlocked basement door.
Yeah.
And hid in a small room where there's a circuit breaker.
Ah.
Yeah.
So now we find out.
Yeah, that's where they turned the power off at the circuit breaker in hopes of what they were thinking that would lure Matt and Cassie into the basement.
So they're trying to scare them here.
Yeah. Both of them into the basement.
So this is kind of like where we get into like this is a horror movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're in the house with your significant other hanging out on the couch watching movies and the power goes out and the dogs are barking down the stairs and you're getting freaked out here.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Makes sense now.
They were hoping that Matt and Cassie were coming down. That's what they were hoping.
To go check it out.
Yeah, see what was going on.
But don't ever go do that.
You
watched movies before, right?
Yeah, my power goes out. I don't ever come down to the basement to check the circuit breaker.
Right.
No. But I guess that's what they were hoping. Their teenage minds.
Well, that's the way you do in the movies,
Yeah.
They all go, what was that you said the other day? Let's go hide behind the chainsaws or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get in a running car, just hide behind the chainsaws.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Brian and Torey, they stayed in the basement, Dale. And it was really unclear whether they knew that Matt had left. And they messed around with the circuit breaker some more, hoping that someone would come down to investigate.
Right. But nobody ever did.
No. And Brian said Torey ran up the stairs and began stabbing Cassie.
Yeah, and see, in the interview, he said that this thing was supposed to be all a big prank. That they were just coming over there, they were just going to go over and try to scare her. With the interview with the police that I watched. And then he said that once the door opened and went in there and he was getting ready to say, hey, and he heard her scream out, and that's when he saw Torey stabbing her. He said he started stabbing her in the legs and the chest. I mean, good God, dude.
That's just, it's too much, man. Any of it. Scaring's too much.
Yes, and then he just said, he had to kill her. She was going to die anyway.
Yeah. At this point, Dale, Torey could no longer claim that he was innocent.
Well, they brought him back in, and they said, well, because Brian had told them everything pretty much, and so they knew this, and so then they were going to try to talk to Torey, but Torey was, because originally when they asked him what they were doing, when they said we know you're not at the theater, because they had talked to a classmate who worked at the theater, and she said no, neither one of them guys is here, so that's not true. So after that, they said, well, we know they're not there. So that's when Brian started to crack and tell them what was going to do. But first, he didn't tell them this story. He told them that they were out trying to rob cars. They were out checking cars and going through this. And then finally they got him to fold over and told him what really happened. So when they first poured Torey in, these stories didn't match up, and then he tried to say the stuff about breaking into cars. And they go like, nah, that ain't what happened. So we already know he was giving you the chance to say something. And then I think that's when he pretty much said he wanted to talk to a lawyer.
Yeah.
So they didn't get much out of Torey.
Yeah, Torey was saying it was Brian's idea, that he really didn't know what was happening. And he thought he was just going to scare him like we talked about. And he insisted they believed they were going to make a movie.
Yeah.
Like, Wes Craven's
Scream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why they wore scary masks.
And these knives.
Yes, and they were planning to make a slasher film of their own.
Right.
And that was all.
Yeah.
And it was Torey's explanation that resulted in the case becoming known as the Scream murder.
Right.
And he also said that when they were in the basement, Torey said he was too scared to go upstairs. When he did eventually go up, he said Brian was there and he stabbed Cassie to death. And they did the blame game and it didn't work.
Right.
However, the investigators were about to cross a jackpot of evidence against both of the boys.
Well, I think really, I don't know, because I don't know about Torey just telling them all this stuff, because the thing I watched said he didn't say much, but they knew Brian was talking, so they went back to him again. And that's when they started coming across this stuff, and Brian eventually told them what the hell happened, or at least his version of what happened, and he was putting it all on Torey. He said he didn't stab him at all.
Yeah, and Brian was breaking down big time.
Yeah, so he said, but he was still blaming Torey for the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
He said he never stabbed her at not one time, but they knew he was lying.
Yeah.
But then, as they continued to question him, that's when he decided that he was going to tell them where a jackpot of evidence was that they had hid.
This is when Brian, he led the investigators to Black Rock Canyon.
Yes.
Where he and Torey had taken the evidence from the crime scene that connected them to the murders.
Yes.
Including the knives they'd used to stab Cassie.
Yeah, and they got there. There was more than they thought they was going to get.
Oh, yeah. They recovered close to 24 items from the spot Brian led them to.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the stuff included a pair of black boots, rubber gloves, a pair of black gloves, and 4 different knives.
Mm.
One of which was, had a serrated blade. And
looked just like the damn Scream knife.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one looked like a dagger.
Mm-hmm.
And there were also those Halloween-style
masks. Creepy.
Yeah.
And then they found a Sony videotape and camera.
Yeah.
That they had no idea was going to be there.
No. What's weird, several of these items were partially burned.
Yeah.
And one being a handwritten note. Now, given the burn marks, they couldn't make out exactly what it said, but it appeared to detail some of their plans for the murder.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to decipher something about the possibility of killing Matt.
Yeah.
If he was still in the house.
Yeah, that was their plan, I think.
Kill both of them.
Kill them both. Yeah, luckily these two are not real brilliant, because when we saw some of the researchers said that it was partially burnt, but even the tape, and they didn't think they were going to be able to use it at all, but they sent it off to the FBI and they restored it. Luckily, these two kids, they went to go get some stuff to burn the evidence, and they bought hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah.
Instead of
alcohol.
Yeah. Stupid.
Yeah, it's hard to get hydrogen peroxide to
flame up.
Yeah. But investigators would find out from examining the camera that Brian and Torey, they considered themselves some kind of filmmaker.
Yeah.
Maintaining interest in film documentary style films.
Yes.
Where the subjects of their own movies and going around documenting their everyday lives, what they were doing.
Yeah, especially on this day.
But on top of Brian's confession, it was what the boys talked about in the movies they were making that really cemented the investigators' beliefs in their guilt, man.
You think?
Now, the videos of interest were filmed between 8 p.m. on September the 21st, the evening before the murder, and 11:31 p.m. on September the 22nd, after the murder.
In all parts during the day of the murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Yeah, so Dale, we got part of that video clip right here, audio portion of it.
So we're gonna kill her and her friends, and we're gonna keep moving on. I heard some news about Kirsten. She's gonna be home alone from 6 to 7, so we might kill her, then drive over to Cassie's thing, and scare the shit out of them, and kill them one by fucking one.
Now, the next film was taken the same day at 9:53 p.m. It was dark, and the two were sitting in the car near the home where Cassie was house sitting.
Mm-hmm.
They're on Whispering Cliffs Drive.
Smashers. Okay. Now we're gonna go over to Cassie and Matt's house. If they're home alone, we're gonna.
In Cassie's house, Matt is there.
Matt is there. Sorry. We're gonna go. We're gonna knock on the door. We'll see who's there. We'll see if their parents are home or not. If they're home alone, we will leave our way, and then we will come back in about 10 minutes. We'll sneak in through the door because chances are they're probably in Cassie's room. So we'll sneak in the front door. We'll make a noise outside, and Matt will come out, investigate, kill him, and it will scare the shit out of Cassie. Okay?
Sounds like fun.
We'll stay tuned. We found our victim, and sad as it may be, she's our friend. But you know what? We all have to make sacrifices. Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddart and her
God,
friends.
turn your brights off,
Well,
asshole.
yeah, we'll find out if she has friends over. She's going to be alone in a big, dark house out in the middle of nowhere.
Now, at 11:31 p.m., Torey and Brian are back in the car. Torey is driving.
And filming is resumed.
Yeah, Brian is filming.
Mm-hmm.
I just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a fucking joke.
I'm shaking.
I stabbed her in the throat, and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie. Oh, fuck. That felt like fucking real. I mean, it went by so
Shut
fast.
the fuck up. We gotta get our act straight.
Okay.
Now, the other items recovered at Black Rock Canyon were taken to the lab for forensic analysis, Dale. And the partially burned black gloves were soaked with blood. And DNA testing showed that the blood was Cassie's. And blood was also present on the black-handled serrated knife. And Torey's DNA was discovered on one of the masks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it ain't looking good, dude.
Right. Now, if this dude wouldn't have told them where all this stuff was, they'd have had a hard time figuring this out.
Yeah.
But, them investigators did a great job.
And if Matt had been killed too,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they'd ever found who killed him.
No.
Unless, they'd done other stuff.
No, because they wouldn't
Later.
have known they were ever there.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, this was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But Brian Draper and Torey Adamcik, they were tried separately for the murder of Cassie Jo, as they should be.
Yes.
And Brian's trial began in early April 2007, and Torey's began on May 31st, 2007.
Just a month apart.
Yeah, and they were both charged with one count of murder in the first degree and one count of conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree. And it was decided that due to the gruesomeness and horrific nature of the murder, they would be tried as adults.
Yep.
Now, there was a friend of Torey's. He was 18-year-old Joe Lucero. Now, he testified at both trials that around August 31st of 2006, he got a call from Torey asking if he would buy some knives for him. So together, Torey, Joe, and Brian, they went to a local pawn shop to buy knives. And on the way, they stopped at an ATM so Brian could get some money. And Brian provided $40 for the knives, and Torey provided $5. And Torey chose one knife, and Brian got 3. Yeah. And the medical examiner who performed Cassie's autopsy testified that it did appear that Cassie had been stabbed with different knives.
Yeah, at least 2 different.
Yeah, for example, a serrated knife and a dagger-style knife could both have been used.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. And Brian did not leave his defense team much work, to work with. Given his confession, his leading investigators to the evidence, all the things he and Torey said on the tapes, he literally said, dude, I just killed Cassie.
Yeah, I stabbed her in the throat.
Yeah, he said that on the tape.
Yeah.
And Torey, on the other hand, stuck to the defense at the trial that he didn't know that Brian was actually planning to murder Cassie. He thought the whole thing was part of their movie, including the films they made beforehand. The buying of the knives and the film they made afterwards.
Right. Now, when we first started checking into this thing, I was really hard leaning toward Torey being the mastermind of this whole thing because, he was all into the horror movies and stuff, but Brian, he was all into this Columbine thing.
He was. Now, both boys' defense attorneys, they attempted to have the videos inadmissible in court.
Well, duh.
Yeah, and they tried to have the trial moved, as these videos became public.
Hmm.
And, everyone could watch Brian and Torey on film making their plans to murder Cassie, and they were bragging about it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd want to get it thrown out too.
Yeah, and the prosecution in both trials claimed the boys' motive for murdering Cassie was fame and notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
And they used their own words against him from the tape, in which they said they were going to be famous like Ted Bundy and the Hillside Strangler.
Yeah. Said he was going to make them guys look like amateurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now get this. It also came out at trial that Brian was fascinated with the Columbine High School shooters, Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. And he felt as though he could relate to them.
Right.
Because like them, he'd always felt like an outcast.
And he didn't matter, right?
Yeah, he aspired to create chaos and destruction of, the same magnitude they did in their school. So, yeah, that's what was going on there.
Yeah, that's what kind of headspace we got here.
Mm-hmm. So on April the 17th, 2007, Brian Draper was found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree.
Hmm.
And on June the 8th, 2007, Torey Adamcik was also found guilty on both charges.
In which they should have been.
Yeah, exactly. So on August...
Well, if you think about it, hell, if the guy wouldn't have went home, it'd have been double murder. You know what I mean? Because they were planning on, like you said earlier, they definitely wanted them to come downstairs just like a movie, and they was going to kill them both.
Yeah.
No matter what they said.
Mm-hmm. And just think if Matt's mom had let him stay there with Cassie that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've both been killed.
Well, if Matt had never invited him over, it wouldn't matter, would it?
Exactly.
I guess that's why you never see Matt saying anything.
No, you don't see nothing.
Mm-mm. Sad.
So on August the 21st, 2007, both boys were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus 30 years for conspiracy to commit murder.
So at 16, they get life.
Yeah.
I mean, real life, not just
Whole lot.
not this 20-year life.
Yeah, their life in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, both boys appealed their convictions, and it seemed as though Brian was more accepting of his punishment, while Torey, who continued to claim his innocence, he was less, confident of his punishment. He didn't think it was just.
He deserved that, right?
Yeah. But Torey's family were firmly behind him at the time and continue to this day. They have supported him emotionally and financially to no end.
Mm.
And his mother, Shannon Adamcik, has written a book about her son and his experience of being tried as an adult, despite being a juvenile at the time of his crime.
Yeah, when we first started looking into this, dude, I was thinking that Torey seemed to be the more, driving force behind this, but the more we dug through it, I'm not so sure. I think Brian was the ringleader here.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but that's just the way it seems to me.
But I can't imagine how the parents of these boys feel.
Oh, my God, no.
Mm-mm.
Neither one of them.
Mm-mm.
I mean, especially Brian, he slung Torey under the bus first thing.
He did.
I mean, slam under the bus. He even saying he didn't do nothing. So, yeah, and then after looking into it and watching those videos, which is pretty sick, but, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, both attorneys for both boys, they filed appeals to the Idaho Supreme Court, and Brian was seeking to have his conviction vacated or to be given a limited life sentence that would allow him to be released on parole.
After 30 years or something?
Yeah. And his attorney, her name was Molly Husky, said that her client's immaturity and poor judgments were partially the cause, to his, him being youth at the time of the crime, and he deserved a chance for release.
Yeah.
And she also said that the jury received erroneous instructions.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah. And the appeal was denied by the court, but they didn't throw out the conspiracy conviction on the grounds that the jurors were given, these bad instructions on that charge.
So they threw it out so they don't get the extra 30 years
That's right.
or whatever it was.
Yeah. So as for Torey's appeal, his attorney, his name was Dennis Benjamin, he specified 8 different points of concern about his client's conviction. He argued that Torey's sentence is cruel and unusual punishment, given that he was just 16-year-old at the time of the murder.
Well, murder's murder, brother.
Yeah.
They went there to do it. It's not like something happened and just accidentally you got killed.
This was planned.
They planned. You watch this damn video, you see. I mean, they even come up to her locker that morning, talking to her. They knew As soon as they found out she was going to be by herself at this house or house sitting out in the middle of nowhere, it was on.
Oh, yeah. Game on.
Yeah. They were excited.
Mm-hmm.
And they can lie all about it if all they want about we were just going to make a movie. That's all bullshit.
Yep. Now, the appeal was not granted, and both of Torey's convictions were upheld.
Mm-hmm.
But Torey was not giving up. And then even in July 2015, he was granted a hearing for post-conviction relief as a result of his attorney claiming that Torey's former attorney did not call character witnesses who could have changed the outcome of his sentencing.
I don't think it would have mattered.
I don't think either.
I mean, it's on the tape, dude.
Mm-hmm. That's solid, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's your own words against you right there. You filmed yourself, dumbass.
Yeah.
This makes me mad.
And Torey's appeal went to the state Supreme Court. In the decision, U.S. Magistrate Judge Candy Dale, she ruled in 2019 that the evidence support his murder conviction, and the state Supreme Court did not err in affirming his life sentence without parole. And just a few years ago, in May of 2020, he appealed this last ruling by Judge Dale in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and there has not been a ruling on this appeal that we could find as of May of 2021.
Yeah, be glad it ain't this Judge Dale.
Yeah. And it's also important to think about in the 2012 Miller versus Alabama case, in which the United Supreme Court ruled that mandatory life sentences without the possibility of parole are unconstitutional for juveniles, even in cases of murder. So I mean, they're latching on to something to try to get out of prison.
They're trying.
Yeah.
They ain't doing no much good.
No. But now, getting back to the people that own the house, Cassie's aunt and uncle, Frank and Allison Contreras. They had only been living in the home for about a year when Cassie was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when their lives were turned upside down.
Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine?
Yeah. After returning to the house, once it was no longer a crime scene, Frank told the Idaho State Journal, this was in 2014, that they had repainted and put new carpet down, and they tried to make the place feel like home again, but there was just so many painful memories, continued to linger around.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they couldn't even couldn't have any kind of a joy in the house they once had.
Yeah, not good.
Mm-mm.
So, this is kind of a pretty hard emotional toll on Allison, the wife, and she had lost her job, fell into depression, and then that little girl who went in to actually found the body later had a breakdown and actually attempted suicide.
Wow.
It's just crazy, man.
Yep.
And just basically they just quit living, quit loving, and started drinking. Basically, that's what Frank said. He had to pick up a second job to try to pull it together. It was just awful.
And the pressure on the marriage and his family was almost too much to bear.
The ripple effect like this is stuff that don't get talked about very much.
Yeah.
What happened, where the place and the parents and anybody connected to the case. Usually it's just talking about, the victim and the perpetrators, but you got to think about all this stuff, man.
Mm-hmm. And Andrew Stoddard, this is Cassie's younger brother. He spoke to the Idaho State Journal in 2016. This was 10 years after Cassie's murder, and he explained how everyone was affected differently by the murder. It took them years before they could really even talk about it.
Yeah.
And it hit their mom, Anna, pretty hard.
And then Frank and Allison, they eventually just decided to damn sell the house because they just felt like they were trapped in a house that they couldn't live in. Which, that's awful, dude. Finally in 2014, I think they put it on the market to get rid of it and just do something else.
Yeah, move on.
Yeah, try to
get some normalcy back to your life. Your life will never be the same.
No. Knowing, if you'd never asked her to do it, it never would have happened. That would be the guilt to be hard to live with.
Yeah. I did watch a Dateline episode on this. Keith Morrison, he hosted.
Oh, that was so good.
Yeah, and he actually talked to Brian Draper on the phone.
Yeah.
And Brian was, I don't know if he was messing around or playing around, but in the phone call and interview, he seemed pretty remorseful in this.
Yeah, but he also seemed very remorseful when he was talking to the detectives and crying and saying Torey did it all.
Very true.
And his daddy in there rubbing his back and his mama with his head down, and he's grabbing Kleenexes and lying the whole time.
Yeah.
So, now I'm sure he is pretty remorseful knowing that he's 16 when he's convicted and he ain't never getting out of prison for this. They did, it was all fun and, I'm hyped up and horny and all this and having a great time when we're killing our friends. Somebody's got to do it and somebody's got to be the, somebody's got to take the fall, and but yeah, and then reality sets in. Now you're screwed.
Yeah. But another crazy thing about this, both these guys are still in prison, and they are at the same prison.
Yes, and they don't even speak.
No. Brian said in that interview with Keith Morrison that they pass each other, but they don't speak.
Yeah, they'll see each other in passing, but that's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they both blame each other
Yeah.
through the whole thing. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Yeah, Cassie was a beautiful girl, man.
Yes.
Life cut too short. Just two boys being stupid.
Yeah, it was bad enough, like you said, if they were just going to go in there and try to scare them. That's terrible. I mean, that's past a prank.
Yeah.
I mean, she's only 16, dude.
I know. Bad.
And then ended up they weren't in there to prank shit. They went in there to commit malicious violence on these people.
Yeah.
And they had planned on killing them both.
You know, especially Brian being fascinated with Columbine
Yeah.
and these other serial killers.
Well, they both gravitated toward each other when they started going to school together, because they were both kind of felt like they were both outcasts and, you know, this kind of thing. And Torey was big into movies and horror movies and this kind of stuff. And then Brian with his thing, like you say, I mean, really, infatuated with these school shooters and this kind of stuff. And when they got together, and it might have been innocent when they first got together, like, well, we can do this and we can make a film about it. And then it just kind of just got going, and their twisted thoughts became reality.
Yeah. Very true. All right, Dale, that is the case of Cassie Jo Stoddart.
Sad, man.
Life taken too short, man.
Yeah, man, her poor mama.
Yeah.
She was just devastated.
Yeah, you can find videos of her on YouTube talking about it, and
I do suggest go watch that episode of Dateline.
yeah, it's really good. Dateline done a great job.
Yeah.
As always. All right, bud, we're going to get out of here, man.
All right, let's roll.
We want everyone to be safe. Please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is the Crack
Crack House
House Chronicles.